Welcome back to the Hook on Woodward Sports Network. Joining our show today, we've got sports attorney. You've heard him across ESPN, CBS, Fox Sports, Dan Lust. Dan, welcome to the Hook. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, Dan. What's up, Dan?
My pleasure. You guys have a lot of fun over there. I'm not used to this. This is some fun stuff.
Oh, it's a shit show, bro. It's a shit show. Welcome to the Hook.
Hey, we got to congratulate Dan. He just had a baby. His wife had a baby girl this past weekend.
Oh,
congratulations. Pilar's in the baby world, too. Her youngest just turned a year
Why is no
today.
one else clapping?
We congratulated him
We
already.
were clapping.
Okay.
That's fish in the fishbowl.
I think it's a condolences to my sleep schedule. I think
There
that's
you
where we're
go.
at this
There
point.
you
There
go.
you go.
Is that your first child?
My second. We had another girl about 2 years ago. So 2 under 2.
That was me.
I'm
That
3
was
for
me.
3 on girls. Don't worry, man. It's all right. It doesn't get easier, by the way. Sorry.
I got 4 girls.
Well, so you know that in about 3 months it gets easier. You start to get some sleep back, but you never really get sleep back till they're about 18, right? And then you start losing sleep for other reasons. So.
No doubt.
But
No doubt.
Congratulations on the newest addition to your family, Dan. So let's talk a little bit about what is going on in the world of sports. We'll go on ahead and start off with the new breaking news that's going on with Deshaun Watson. Now it's 10 women, 2 of them that are not in the original lawsuit, being represented by Tony Busby, that have filed complaints with the Houston Police Department regarding Deshaun Watson. I mean, we feel like there's just a little bit of good news for him as far as him not being on the commissioner's exempt list, and now things could really take a turn for the worst.
Yeah, so I guess a couple things here. I don't know if we've had any good news on the Deshaun Watson front since this whole saga started. People are coming and asking, like, hey, shouldn't he have a rating placed on the commissioner's exempt list? And the fact that he hasn't been placed on it, doesn't that kind of bode well for his future? And I've kind of to point out, right, like, there was nothing really pushing Roger Goodell to put him on that commissioner's exempt list, which is a form of paid leave. The Texans would be paying his salary, he just wouldn't be playing. That's the same deal which we'll get into, I'm sure, with Trevor Bauer. Dodgers are paying his salary. He's not pitching every 5th day. So, why is Bauer placed on that administrative leave list? Because they're in the middle of the season, right? It makes the logo, the MLB baseball logo, look pretty bad if Bauer's out there and having to answer questions about sexual assault. Now, Watson hasn't reported to camp up until this past week when he decided that he was going to show up instead of getting hit with a $50,000 fine. So, at least the way I view it, I think the clock has started to tick this week for Watson, really a decision to be made to be placed in the commissioner's exempt list. That bar is set very low, does not require criminal charges. Basically, if Goodell is worried about you injuring the Shield and making the Shield look bad, on answering hard questions about sexual assault after press conferences, after practice, yeah, he's probably going to put you on there. So if I'm a betting man, which, Tom, you know that I am, I'd probably be looking at him getting placed in that next couple.
Well, that was always a thing, Dan, that I had is in the last few months, I'd come in every day and say anything on Deshaun Watson because it was sort of hush-hush up until I thought was such a cagey move by Tony Busby and leaking or sending out the Twitter, the Instagram.
He was getting his massage.
When he's getting his massage and saying everything like that. Was it always going to wait? Because until training camp started, that's when the clock started for Roger Goodell, if we're going to think like him. Because as we know, the NFL governs all. And it's just the fact that they've held steadfast with the vaccine and all that, but haven't said anything to this. Did that spark it up, or was it always coming down to training camp before a decision would be made?
I mean, at least as far as I know, Deshaun Watson has not spoken to the NFL investigation crew. They've spoken to a handful of the alleged victims, but not to Deshaun Watson. I think if ideally you were running this investigation, you'd speak to Watson first. You'd kind of lay out his story, make him maybe sign some type of sworn statement, and then you'd cross-reference that with what the alleged victims say. And then you go back to Watson and say, hey, why don't these two statements line up? So I think they're doing him a little bit of a favor by bringing him in last. Maybe, it's a volunteer investigation. Watson does not have to go. But that said, if Watson chooses not to participate, Goodell could still suspend him. And that wasn't, contingent on camp starting or anything like that. Darren, I will say that Tony Busby Instagram post is very funny. And just so people know, it's not really that normal that lawyers are litigating a case on Instagram. And, mind you, it's not that normal to take a picture with your masseuse. So Tony Busby, that was a little bit of a weird move, my friend.
I feel that the way Tony Busby is kind of handling this is just a bit unprofessional, and it's almost tacky to me to be going to TMZ, to be doing low blows like that on
I told
Instagram.
you, remember Johnny Cochran? He got OJ. I mean, this is how you do it now. In a high-profile case, these guys know what they're doing.
Well, we're going to see if he knows what he's doing.
He does.
Watch
We'll
out,
know in a
pro.
year. Let's ask you, Dan.
It's a good question. I mean, here's the thing, right? A good lawyer, your real obligation here is to kind of like, maybe set the bar low and then exceed expectations. So Tony Busby's first introduction to the public, like I know him from the Clemens case. He had, Harden's been involved in the Clemens case, but Busby's had some big, heavy-hitting, multi-million-dollar. I've known his name before. But for the sports fan, right, Tony Busby comes out and he goes, okay, guys, I'm here to defend my clients. We're not going to say that much in the press. We're going to let our filings do the talking for us. But don't worry, we will not litigate this case in the press. And then for the next couple of weeks, right, what did Tony Busby do? He litigates it in the press conferences. But then he does a little bit of a twist, right? He becomes Mr. Instagram lawyer and posting pictures with him and his masseuse and calling Deshaun Watson a horny teenage boy, which is, I don't know the wisdom in that, but from a legal perspective, if people are wondering how we can draw from, these types of comments of Busby Online where we're at. So I know there's a report by Rich Eisen during the draft that the parties got close on a global settlement. That would have been all 20 plus civil cases would have been wound into one settlement. So I guess, talks kind of fizzled out. Some cheap shots at one another in the press. All I say is this. I've had cases, hundreds of cases that have settled. We're about to sign on the dotted line, and I've given you the information, how to send me a lot of money, right? What I am not doing is going to the press and calling your client a horny teenage boy, okay? That tells you that the sides are very far apart because you don't make those types of comments, you're very far.
Dan Lust joins us, sports attorney to the stars. You can check him out on Twitter at SportsLawLust. I want to ask you about yesterday, Deshaun Watson and his lawyer, Rusty Hardin, say Deshaun doesn't want to settle. He doesn't want he wants to tell his story. What story can he tell? And now there's 22 cases, add 2 more on. So he's got 24 women accusing him of being a naughty teenage boy.
I mean, here's the thing. We know the story, right? We know the defenses already. Everyone put their cards out there in the first week. It's a he said, she said type deal, right? They're saying it's not consensual. He's saying it's consensual. That's the gist of it, unless Watson wants to say that he doesn't know some of these women and some of these women are just making up the whole event. But at least for the ones that he is acknowledging he had some interaction with, he's saying it was consensual. So I don't know what benefit Deshaun Watson gains by telling his story that it was consensual, because we know what the other side's saying, that it wasn't consensual. So I'll give you, again, a little bit of the tea leaf so I can give you the kind of hard-hitting stuff. Guys, the depositions in this case were set for February of 2022. I imagine that was a request by Watson's side to not have depositions during the course of the season. That's going to be after the Super Bowl. Now, why does Tony Busby agree to such a far date for depositions? I don't know, probably so we can create some type of a runway, a couple of months to try to settle this case. Once you get the depositions, the bets are off, because then Watson's going to have a chance to tell a story. And guess what? If it's bad, he can't get it back in terms of the public conscience. But we'll always know what he said under depositions. It always finds a way of coming out. So, yeah, I think this case has 2 probably decision points to settle, maybe 3. One, before the lawsuit was filed. That's how 90% of these cases get settled, and you guys never know about them. Or before depositions, or before trial. I really have a hard time seeing this go to trial. If it does, guys, I mean, this will take literally a year plus to resolve. So I think Watson's better off trying to resolve this. The guy makes hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know what it's going to take to settle the case, but more quickly he can come to a resolution, more quickly he can put this behind him. I don't see any type of benefit to actually litigating this case. I don't think that bodes well for Watson on a pure he said, she said type deal.
Dan, before we take a quick break, do you think he plays football this year?
I know we're going to get into it. All I can tell you is this is a copycat league, right? Rob Manfred is dealing with a very similar decision with Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer's placed on the administrative leave list indefinitely, right? He's a former Cy Young Award winner. He's not going to be playing for the indefinite future. I think that's what Watson's going to be facing. I think he's going to be on the commissioner's exempt list until this is cleared up. And I can tell you, litigation-wise, this will take a year to resolve. So unless he settles it ahead of time, I do not see this getting resolved anytime soon.
Dan, can you hold through a quick 30-second break? We want to talk about Trevor Bauer and then the Guardians and the Washington football team names as well. You got a couple seconds for us?
I got a couple minutes, guys. We're
All right.
good.
All right. Dan Lust, the star, the sports attorney to the star, joins us here on The Hook. Keep it right here on Woodward Sports Network. We're back on The Hook on Woodward Sports Network. Tom Mazawey, Pilar Lastra, and the famous D-Mac in the house. And we've got our good friend Dan Lust on the line with us, sports attorney to the stars. You can catch him on Twitter at SportsLawLust. And we left talking about Deshaun Watson, and we want to go to Trevor Bauer now. Here's a guy that we saw the pictures, what happened with him and his friend who he's had a lot of sex with, a lot of rough sex with. And she's decided that he went a little too far. So he's been off for almost a month now. He makes $1.5 million per week, by the way, during the baseball season. That's a lot of cheddar to be sitting around and just hanging out. Word on the street, Dan, is the players on the Dodgers don't want him back. What's your take on this whole thing? Do we see Trevor Bauer anymore?
I saw the LA Times article where you're sourcing it from. I also saw an article last week that the Dodgers players were also unfollowing him on Instagram. So my generation, that's a very big move. It's a big move. You make light of it for your older demographic, but going out of your way to unfollow a teammate who signed a multi-million-dollar deal is no small thing. So I guess a couple things. So I keep mentioning in this he said, she said type deal on the Watson case. That just means like who believe, left or right? Someone's going to be more credible. Trevor Bauer's is a little more dangerous from a legal perspective. The allegation, you guys can look it up online. It's out there. But the main one that I want to focus on is that there was a consensual interaction between adults. And at one point during that interaction, the allegation is that it became unconsensual. And specifically was the point where this individual was rendered unconscious and something happened while she was unconscious. So, if you want to buy Bauer seemingly in his attorney statement is saying that everything was consensual. And that agreed to happen was consensual. The problem is there's two very different things between consent between adults in a bedroom and consent that's going to fly in front of a judge. There are some courts in this country that legally say that you cannot consent to things while you're unconscious. So that's why Bauer is facing, it's not really he said, she said. It's whether the thing actually happened, right? It's a tough one for Bauer. And I read this, and I know you guys as fans are listening to this on the Watson front. I wanted to make sure I get, Tom, you pointed it out. Who's paying Trevor Bauer's salary right now? The Dodgers. Who's not playing for the Dodgers? Trevor Bauer. There is no trade market for Trevor Bauer right now. I am shocked, really I am, that there is a trade market for Deshaun Watson. I think it's very likely he gets placed in the administrative leave list for a significant period of time. So why would you trade for him before he's placed in that list? When you have a nuclear asset and you're paying him millions of dollars. I don't understand it. The only thing I can gather is that these rumors are coming from Watson's camp. He just wants to get out of Houston immediately. But if I'm a GM, I'm waiting for that decision to be made, that he's placed on the commissioner's exempt list, and then that price really goes down from about 3 first-rounders to maybe pennies on the dollar.
Well, I actually do think that it's Deshaun Watson's attorney who's saying that there's still continuous offers on the table. So I think you're actually right that it is his camp that's trying to make it seem like, hey, everything's okay. We're going to come out of this clean, and Deshaun Watson still has a future in football. So I think you're right on that.
I'm waiting here. They're obviously, and the Texans have miraculously made him available for trade. Finally,
Sure.
They've decided now they're going to get rid of him, just for the first time, of course.
Yeah.
Talking to Dan Lust at Sports Law Lust. You can check him out on the Twitter. And like you said, his generation. Well, it must have happened by somebody in our generation, Maz, that forgot something. But can you please explain that Cleveland changes their name to the Guardians, but somebody else owns the name?
It's a roller derby team.
It's a roller derby team.
They own at Cleveland Guardians.
How does this stuff happen?
And
where does Cleveland go?
Listen, Cleveland's going to have to take out a check and just write a blank one because they're kind of in it at this point. Cleveland announces last week there was some rumblings back in May that they were leaning towards the Guardians. So if you're kind of paying attention, you saw it. But yeah, they announced last week that they're going to go with the Cleveland Guardians. So I got a tip from a friend of mine over in Cleveland that was aware of the roller derby team. I'm not sure how many fans they have, maybe double digits, maybe right around there. If you go to right now, if you can do a fun exercise, you go to clevelandguardians.com, the name of the new Cleveland Indians, and it's a roller derby team, right? You go to
That's great.
It's the roller derby team. You go to guardians.com. This one's my favorite, right? Yankees.com, redsox.com. We know where those go. You go to guardians.com. It's up for sale to the highest bidder on GoDaddy.com.
Wow.
So, I get that they like the name. I guess it has some historical significance, but you can't put the cart before the horse. You can't announce that's the name and then say, oh, by the way, we forgot to kind of tie up all these loose ends. You've lost all leverage, right? And now you just have to cut a check. So it's very problematic.
How the hell does this happen? They're a professional team.
I'll tell you, I mean, their attorneys weren't making sure that all intellectual property was going to be secured before that they
Who's your trademark lawyer?
Yeah, before
They got Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks voiced the promo.
Don't
to
blame that
thing.
on Tom Hanks,
No, I'm just saying it was great. I'm like, I got
putting
excited.
money into it,
So,
but let me ask you this, Dan. I mean, at this point, can they just change the name again?
No.
Why not?
They can, but without looking really stupid. Can I say stupid? Can I say stupid on the show? Yeah,
you can.
You can say all
say
kinds of
anything.
stuff on this.
And we're in Detroit, and they're in Cleveland, so
We hate them.
Maybe it's apropos. I don't know.
So, yeah, I imagine, my tweet that kind of went viral was, did they Google it? And, I'm sure someone Googled it, but what I can't for the life of me understand, let's say we gave them credit that they Googled it, that they understand the sports teams in their market. Right? This is not Cleveland, Hawaii, or Cleveland, New York. It's Cleveland, Ohio. They should know, right, the teams that are existing under their roof, in their jurisdiction. But let's say they knew about it. Let's give them credit. What was the rush to announce that name change, right? Let's say I'm the trademark lawyer for the Cleveland baseball team, right? I know I want to go with Cleveland Guardians, but I'm playing a little poker, right? I want to hide my hand a little bit. I'd go to the Cleveland roller derby team and I'd say, hey, I'm deciding between 5 names. I'm not sure which name I'm going to go with. What if I throw you like $50,000 for this thing and just call it a day? And the roller derby team probably says, you know what, I'll take $50K. What do I care? I'm a roller derby team, and no one watches any of my games anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Here's $50K, right? But the way they did it was backwards. They announced to the public, we're going with the Guardians before, right? They settled up all these different websites and all this other fun stuff. So, I'm reading the trademark filings. It looks like there's a fight going on behind the scenes. We'll see what that check is that's going to have to be cashed, but seemingly like a big one, unless they want to unwind and go with a name like the Cleveland Spiders or one of these other big names.
They should have gone with the Cleveland.
Spiders
love
should be
the
the name.
Spiders. I love the Cleveland Steamers. They weren't going with those.
I'm sure they don't love that. I'm sure they don't love that.
Listen, if I was that roller derby team, I'd be every Friday night at the stadium. I'll be parading my girls around the warning track. I'm going to make that kind of deal. You're going to pay me, and you're going to sponsor me in my next season.
It's like the disco night and the White Sox.
Just
but
bring
it's
them back. Bring back
derby
disco
between
demolition
them.
night, whatever the hell you want. But I wanted to ask you about the Redskins, the Washington football team name. There's a guy in Washington or wherever the hell he lives, basically trademarked every single red tail, red whatever in Washington. Every name that they wanted is trademarked already, Dan. What are they going to do?
So, Tom, I know why you're asking me this, because I put a really fun poll up that asked which team is more incompetent in the way they changed their name, right? Cleveland or Washington. I had some fun with it. Warriors can have some fun. The poll ended up being Cleveland, because I guess we hate Cleveland on the show, which is fine. I'm just stating the numbers. Numbers don't lie. My vote is actually for Washington. Watch a South Park. That's listen to this for you guys. Washington lost the trademark about 4 or 5 years ago, and South Park did that fun episode when they, you can watch. It's in the archives. But we knew that name was not going to be protected at some point, right? And so Dan Snyder, in his infinite wisdom, goes, we will never change the name Washington Redskins. It will always be Redskins. So, you need to have a backup plan, right? You run a $1 billion NFL franchise, have a backup plan. So this guy, Martin McCauley, shout out to him. He's some random actuary over in Virginia. For the next 4 or 5 years, he starts dropping some coin, a couple $1,000s, and corners the market on every Washington name you can imagine. Washington Monuments, Washington Red Tails, Red Wolves. So, the Washington Post had a story that the Redskins had a name they liked, but it was under somebody owning the intellectual property. So this is, maybe a man of the people, Martin McCauley. He's making the Redskins look really dumb. Washington.
How much is he going to make?
This might be the only way to get Dan Snyder to sell the team.
His wife owns it now.
Don't you have to, in order to own the trademark, don't you have to show proof of use for
You ready? He created a website where he's selling mugs and T-shirts with the logos on them, and people that hate the Washington football team are buying them to prove that it's commercial use. The guy is very smart. The guy is a very smart troll over there.
And you have to prove use.
He is.
No, I know, but I guess if they're buying them from all over, because I say from outside of the state in which he's incorporated in.
But could Cleveland baseball team just kind of like roll over the roller derby team? No pun intended, I'm sure. But that's not the point of trademark law. It's the first one to put it into use and to put it in a real,
Right.
actual way. So, some can say what Martin McCall is doing is a little bit of bad faith, and maybe what the roller team is doing after being dormant on Facebook for 3 years, all of a sudden they start posting, we're excited for the 2022 season. A little bit of bad faith. You know what? Right, but instead of paying the lawyers to fight them, maybe you pay the legal fees to the roller derby team. Maybe you pay the legal fees to Martin McCall. So there's a method to the madness over here.
Hey, you nailed it, Dan. If whoever was on guard was for the Guardians.com was asleep for 3 years, and all of a sudden it went beep, 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 and they got all these. Maybe they got more fans and stuff now.
Hey, Dan, if you're Martin's lawyer, and you should be, how much are you asking Washington for to release some names?
Well, Washington's a little trickier because they haven't announced the name. But if you ask me the same question on Cleveland Guardians, I think that's a 7-figure check. I mean, I don't know how you get around it without looking idiotic, right? How much
7 figures?
Yeah, $1 million at least.
Wow.
I was thinking $5. I was thinking in Washington he's going to get a lot more.
Jeez.
Probably double.
How much do you pay your PR team to make you look good, right? You know what's going to make you really stupid? Having to change the name because you don't have the website or the Instagram account. Why don't you just, put that money, if I'm his lawyer, I'd be saying that. Put that money that you're going to pay your PR team to unwind this mess and put it in my pocket to make your life a lot easier.
Dan, thanks so much for coming on with us
awesome,
today,
Dan.
Great
Dan
stuff,
Lust,
Dan.
the sports attorney to the stars. Check him out at Sports Law Lust. And congrats on your new little girl, man.
Congratulations
My
on the
pleasure,
new
guys.
baby.
Anytime. You guys have a lot of fun here. With a last name like Lust, I feel like this is
It's
You're
a
perfect for this
fit.
show.
You got to
Perfect.
come on more often. We loved having you on. You're
Thanks, Dan.
great.
anytime, guys.
All right,
buddy.
Dan, try to get some rest. Dan Lust, a sports attorney. Again, you've heard him across all big platforms, ESPN, CBS, Fox Sports, all of them. You can follow him on social media at Sports Law Lust. Good stuff there. All right, guys.
So if you want to be like Stanley Cup champion Darren McCarty, go to coastportland.com and get your Coast products today.